Welcome back to the Grid Sisters podcast. My name is Tess.
And I'm Lauren.
And we're the Grid Sisters. And this week, we're talking about Jeddah.
Everything that happened in Jeddah.
All Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, the whole thing. All
the good, the bad, the confusing, the ugly, all of it.
There was definitely some confusing that happened.
All right, let's jump right into things with race weekend recap. First, I'm going to give you a couple quick facts about the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix in Jeddah. So this is a very unforgiving circuit.
Yes.
It kind of feels like tunnel vision, the whole race, very narrow, very expensive should you get it wrong.
Yeah, it's a pretty dangerous track. Obviously, all the tracks are dangerous, but I would say it's considered a very dangerous track because it is the fastest street circuit. Yes, very narrow, blind corners, a lot of room for error, a lot of walls to hit.
Yes, very technically difficult track. And also I would say it's been made even more difficult by the fact that some of the portions of the track have been altered since last year.
Mm-hmm.
One other point to note is if you do remember Mick Schumacher's big crash from last year, that did happen at Jeddah. Well, one of his couple big crashes.
That and Monaco, I believe.
Yes. So with all of that being said, they did move the barriers back for better visibility on track. However, the majority of the corners are still blind, and that is very scary. We saw that a lot of issues with that when it came to practice too, and qualifying, with people being on slower or out laps versus faster timed laps, and just lots of traffic out there because it's very difficult to know where to place your car so you're not in someone's way.
There's not a lot of room on track to be out of the way.
Exactly.
As well as there is one turn that they changed. I don't remember which turn it is.
I think it's turn 22 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they widened the turn to provide less blindness in the corner, to give the corner more visibility. However, it made almost every driver run off because they were used to the
track limits. Right there was definitely a topic this weekend. Now, with that being said, we are using the softer end of the tire range this week, not the softest tire, but the softer side. Another fun fact is Nick DeVries, it was the only driver on the grid who has actually never driven this circuit before.
Yes.
So most of the other drivers, even our rookies, have driven this track in F2, some of them F3, but definitely in F2. However, Nick DeVries has never driven this track
because
before.
He left F2 a while ago, and he drove in Formula E last year when all of the F2 drivers in the last 2 years were driving at Jeddah. He was in Formula E.
Exactly. All right. So for FP1, I feel like free practice for the most part, we had very quiet free practices. I don't think we saw too many issues happening. We did get Alex Albon in fourth. It was looking as though it was going to be a very strong weekend for Williams, and we did see some issues with that down the line, but it did look like it was going to be a very strong weekend for Williams. We had both Ferraris having taken new power units for this weekend. Leclerc did take a grid penalty for that and started in 12th.
And Ferrari decided to do that as kind of a quick fix to the fact that they don't really know what happened to Charles' car in Bahrain. They don't know what the problem was, so they decided to switch out both of their power units. So
just in case.
They're trying to...
It's kind of damage control at this point, right?
Yes.
Like they're just trying to minimize the chances of another DNF because we all cannot handle more sad Charles Leclerc. Like if I hear Charles Leclerc go, no, one more time, I think I might cry.
Yeah.
Yes. So one thing I wanted to bring up, because if you are newer to F1 with Sky Sports specifically, or our ESPN broadcast that we watch, you do get one of the team bosses or directors on the pit wall every week. Yes. So this week we had a new team principal on the wall. And if you're a longtime F1 person, you will probably recognize this man's name. Most commonly known for Valtteri, it's James. And we had none other than James Vowles on the pit wall this week for Williams.
Yep, he's the new team principal.
I actually am very excited as to what this is going to do for the Williams team, because I think we've already seen a drastic improvement from where they were last season.
Yes, and I think a lot of it is, number one, the development of the car. I think that all of their wind tunnel time and everything really helps them out. I think also Alex as a driver, last year was his first year at Williams, and he, I think, came in with a lot of intelligent insight because right before this, he drove for Red Bull. And I think that Alex being an incredible driver, having a lot of insight, them having a lot of wind tunnel time, definitely more money because Duracell, and now they have Golf as a sponsor.
Duracell, and they did take that Golf sponsorship off of McLaren.
And I think all of those things combined with a new team principal who is incredibly intelligent,
absolutely,
is only going to push Williams this year and every single year. And I hope I see Williams like front of midfield.
I would love that. Could you imagine?
Like, my dreams is Williams front of midfield, McLaren like top 3. Those are my like grid dreams.
What are you gonna do with Red Bull and Ferrari then?
Red Bull's always going to be in the top 3, I think.
So you just think Ferrari is going to be placing 5th in the championship?
It's horrible news, but someone has to move so that other teams can be better. Not this year. I just mean in life.
This is fair. I hope we get to see a lot more battles, which is actually what I feel like for the most part we did see.
The midfield has been looking really interesting.
The midfield has had like a lot of really interesting moments, and I've really enjoyed it. We did see a lot of struggle with grip during the first couple free practices because Jeddah is a street circuit. It does take a while for that track to rubber in. And what that means is essentially they are laying rubber down on the track, which is going to give them better grip throughout the weekend. Now, we saw a lot of struggles with this, especially in FP1, especially at turn 22, which is that turn we were talking about earlier, which is now actually a harder corner for the drivers, but different from last year. So there was that added
a bit of difficulty, but I think it was more the challenge of they know the corner's different, but it's very instinctual. And also it is more difficult, I think, as like a re-navigation because a lot of the corners are so flat out straight on.
Yeah.
And I think this one was just like, it's just a little more than they were expecting every time.
Yeah.
So they were just kind of blowing through it almost.
Exactly.
Like straight through it almost. And it was a lot of curb action on everyone's. Lots of sparks.
Yes. Lots of sparks at turn 22. For sure. But FP1 was a really busy session. This is what we were saying kind of last episode is teams are going to use these free practice sessions for data gathering. Obviously, it's to help with their race strategy. It's a very important part, but keep in mind that even while they're developing their race strategy, they are also gaining so much valuable intel on the car.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why we're going to see very busy free practice sessions, whereas if you watched the end of last season, may have noticed that some practice sessions were less busy than others. Cars are on track for less amount of time, that type of thing.
Like, we are still seeing everybody at some point in the weekend on one of the cars running Flovis, pretty much,
yeah. And we'll continue to see that, especially I would say even for the next 3 to 4 races.
Yeah,
I would be extremely surprised if we didn't at least see that in Melbourne.
Oh, for sure, especially because each of the like first tracks are so different, and a lot of like other tracks reflect and are a little similar, but yeah, the first ones
I would say
so
the first
different.
3 are very different tracks.
So you need to have a lot of data. A lot of different data.
Yes, exactly. But like I said, very busy FP1 session, but there were no incidents. Nobody was on the wall. We did get a virtual safety car test at the end of free practice 1, which was essentially just a test for the track and all of the track workers to make sure that all of their systems were in place and that everyone was up to speed on protocol. And I thought that was really awesome, actually. I really kind of appreciated seeing that. It's kind of like when you did a fire drill in elementary school.
It's a fire drill.
It's their version of like a fire drill, except it happens way more consistently.
Yeah.
So getting into FP2. Now, FP2 is the practice that is going to best reflect the race as far as time, temperature, all of that. So the FP2 data is really, really vital for creating race strategy. We see, as predicted, Red Bull and Fernando Alonso did look very strong all throughout the weekend, practice, quali, and the race. De Vries did look like he was getting into the groove well. I was actually quite impressed with Nick De Vries at this track for being a rookie, having never driven this track before, and with how difficult of a track it was. He did seem to really kind of pick up the pace and kind of learn the track very quickly. We had a good lap from Russell in FP2. We saw Hamilton kind of struggling a little bit. It does look like Hamilton's been fighting that car a bit more than George Russell has, which is fascinating. I wonder if there's some design fundamentalities and things like that that suit George a little bit better than they do Lewis, or if they're just so different for Lewis that they just don't.
Or I even wonder if, you know how last season they said that a lot of testing things that they were doing currently in the season, they continue to do on Lewis's car. I wonder if some of that is still kind of going on, where any minor change where they're like, oh, would this work better? They're doing it to Lewis's first.
True.
Because he is more experienced.
Lewis just has such a knowledge of the car and the way he feels as if it should move on track.
Yes.
That, that would make sense.
So I think that that's a possibility, but we don't know.
We're going to go ahead and skip FP3 and go straight
move on to quali.
Now, Q1. Q1 was very eventful. Keep in mind, like we said, very hard to get out of the way on this track, and it was very busy out there. So in quali, we did have a rough spin for Nick DeVries, a good run from Williams. I literally have what the Nico is in first.
I don't know what Nico Hülkenberg was on in quali, but like,
I don't know.
Someone needs to take the roids away. Like,
literally,
what's going on?
Literally.
It was crazy.
We had Alonso doing a spin in Q1. We had a good save from Logan. Actually, let's talk about this for a second, because Logan Sargent actually had a really rough Q1. So what happened was he had a spin, very nearly put it in the wall, managed to stop the car, literally probably 6 inches to a foot from hitting the barrier.
Really good.
It would have been a very expensive impact for Williams. And so it was a very, very good save from Logan. We did see, again, track limits and the consistency between what that means being an issue at Jeddah. They're telling Logan he did track limits for turn 27, and he's like, what the heck, I can't even go off at turn 27. They're like,
walls.
It was
you
touched the pit lane
at the before your lap started. I understand the safety measure, but
I absolutely understand the safety measure and how vital that is, but sometimes it seems as though things are not as well communicated to the drivers. You would hope that this would all happen in the pre-race briefing and in the weekend briefing beforehand. And I think we're probably going to see again a big movement from the drivers, so that we just want consistency.
We actually already have some news about this. The FIA, obviously, this is also including Fernando Alonso's issue that we'll get to.
We will have so much to discuss.
The FIA has said that there will be a ruling of consistency between that and a bunch of other stuff that happened this weekend before the next race. Perfect. So I think that they'll have lots of conversations about the consistency of the rules. Because, I just don't know if we can really continue, because this has been one of the things that has been frustrating as a fan of F1 is the inconsistency in who's getting a penalty and who is not getting a penalty, and how and why they would or would not be getting a penalty. It's very confusing from a fan's perspective, but also from a driver's perspective, because you never know if they're just going to start handing them out willy-nilly, and nobody wants that. As a fan, you don't want that. As a driver, you don't want that. As a team, you don't want that. Nobody wants that. We saw did really bite Esteban Ocon in the ass in Bahrain. So that wasn't amazing news for S2 Bestie.
We did see a great lap from Lance Stroll in Q1. But we did end up with having Nick DeVries out, Alex out, Norris out, Tsunoda and Sargent out. So unfortunately, we lost both of our Williams cars. One for Lando. It was not a good weekend for McLaren again. So we lost both AlphaTauris, both Williams, and Lando. Going into Q2, we had an absolute flying lap from Alonso. Alonso is, like he said himself, he loves his car.
Loves it.
And we can see that.
He's living his best life in that.
Fernando Alonso is living his best life. Somehow Nico Hülkenberg was in 4th again. Haas was having a great weekend, and I'm always here for Haas, but I just don't understand how Nico Hülkenberg is.
Don't know what's going on.
It's almost odd.
In the race, we really start to see okay, yes, Haas is still Haas. They still have their issues that make them not a top team, but their car looks like it's performing pretty well, and Nico looks looks like he's putting it in a good position.
Yeah.
Which is all kind of crazy.
I mean, it's good things.
It's good.
We do cheer for Haas, so it is good things. All right.
Hülkenberg.
Nico Hülkenberg. All right. Now, the big kahuna of Q2 was, in fact, Max Verstappen getting stuck in third gear with a drivetrain issue.
Maxi boy. Max. The thing is we knew he had a problem, guys. He told us he had a problem. He said, yeah, something feels off in practice. One of the practices, I believe he said.
Did.
He said like, yeah, my shifts are going really slow. And they're like, yeah, cool. I'm sure it was a lot more than that. But like on the radio, they're just like, yeah, sure, just keep driving, Max.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. In quali, he fully was like, it's not working, guys. Had to stop just on the side.
No, I think he got back to the pit.
Yeah, he did.
He got back to the pit and they did. This is where we actually are probably going to see a lot of memes from this weekend is we did see absolute panic stations happen at Red Bull Racing. And that was actually super cool to watch. Like not from a like, oh, I'm really happy that, whatever perspective.
Yeah, but
as
like
someone who enjoys like organization and like chaos and things like that, it was great to see everyone immediately go into like go
this
mode.
Is what needs to happen right now because we need to be able to fix this and then try and get him out and whatever.
Exactly.
And then they realized
that there's no way you can change a drive shaft.
They were guessing.
Uh-huh.
The thing is they had to diagnose the problem and try and fix it so Max could go back out. They couldn't. Max was in 15th. Then he started the race in 15th, and that's just how the world works. Because sometimes you need to be humbled a little, Red Bull. Okay.
Just every once in a while.
Not that you didn't end up first and second, but
no, listen, I will say though, it's sometimes, again, not that I don't think I ever cheer for any team's misfortune.
Mm-hmm.
Because that sucks. I respect all the drivers as athletes. Like nobody wants their machines to not work. Like I don't think I ever cheer for anyone's misfortune, but it is comforting as a fan of other teams to see that Red Bull does in fact have some chinks in the armor. They don't have it all figured out. And so maybe, there's a chance for some other fighters this year. And I'm all for that. It's not fun as a fan when everyone looks exactly when the season seems decided from race one. You know what I mean? And it is a long season, but we like to see shakeups as fans. Everyone loves an underdog.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think watching, also, I say it's humbling for Red Bull, but it's actually not because then watching them get a 1-2 and Max coming up to second from 15th, it's like, it just gives them another chance to prove themselves. And I'm like, yeah, we get it. Your car's leagues ahead of everyone and you're so fast. And like, oh, you guys are world champions. No, I'm just kidding. But like, yeah, it's sometimes you're like, yeah. You should always start in 15th and see what happens.
Yeah, just let's see what happens.
Give everyone else a chance.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Maybe. I don't know. So with that, we did see Max out, Bottas out, Magnussen out, Joe out, and Hülkenberg out in Q2.
Because I believe he had a lap time deleted.
Hülkenberg did in fact have his lap time deleted.
And that's what happened to Logan Sargent in Q1.
Yes.
He had a flying lap.
Oh my gosh.
And had it
He would have easily been into Q2 had he not had his lap time deleted.
And the times that he was putting up were Q3 possibility. Yeah, that sucks.
So how good Logan Sargent was at this track
was really happy for him.
Yeah, I'm
so happy for Williams.
Super happy.
Upset about how the race went, but happy.
Well, yeah, we'll get there. All right, and then Q3, Piastri actually was looking really good. Let's talk about the fact that Oscar Piastri made it all the way to Q3, and Lando Norris was out in Q1.
I don't know what's happening, okay? Because
we're gonna have to have a conversation actually really quickly about what is going on at McLaren, because we are seeing pace, but we are seeing so many other issues that it's hard to know what that pace actually is.
Reliability issues, it's random things like steering wheels, it's like, and then in the race, I'm pretty sure Oscar's front wing got damaged when he collided with Pierre Gasly, and that damaged Lando's wing. And then they both had to come into pit to change their wings. And it's just, nothing is going their way. And so I can't wear my McLaren t-shirts.
And I really need them to improve because
I have a lot of McLaren merch, okay?
and we can't wear any of it.
I mean, I can. It's just sad.
Q3, we did have a really good look though from Piastri. We also had Lance Stroll with the purple first sector at one point, and I just feel like I'm living in an alternate reality. And you know what? Kudos to Lance. Kudos to Lance. That one hurts to say, but kudos to Lance on
Yeah,
that.
he's really working that car.
Yeah, and I'm impressed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very impressed. So our final positions from Q3, not our starting grid, but our final positions from Q3 were Perez in first, going down, Leclerc, Alonso, Russell, Sainz, Stroll, Ocon, Hamilton in 8th, Piastri in 9th, and Gasly in 10th.
Now that obviously shifts because Leclerc goes down to 12th. So that gets pushed up to Perez on pole. Alonso, Russell, Sainz, Stroll, Ocon, Hamilton, Piastri, Gasly, Leclerc in 12th.
Now, another great thing is this is actually Sergio Perez's, it's only his second pole position.
Yes.
This was only his second pole position.
This is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I am so proud of him.
Me too.
Like beyond proud of Checo Perez all around this weekend. It was phenomenal.
It was a good weekend. I mean, Christian Horner said that this was his best race he's ever raced, is what Christian said about Checo. So,
wow.
Mm-hmm.
Checo loves a street circuit.
He does. He really does.
Checo is a man for the streets. And I mean that in the term of street
Mexico.
circuits. And he absolutely killed it. Yeah. Absolutely killed it this
I thought
weekend.
It was great. His defense with Alonso, his passing of Alonso by 3rd or 4th lap as soon as DRS was enabled. Things flew by. It was great.
Absolutely. With that, let's actually get into the race. Start of the race, Alonso had a fantastic getaway.
Crazy getaway.
Alonso he pounced, and it was so good. Now, we did unfortunately see a starting box error from Alonso. He was not too far forward like Esteban Ocon was. He was just outside of his line. I believe he was just a little too far to the left.
Yes.
So unfortunate, completely understandable from a rules perspective why he does in fact need to be inside his box, because you can get different lines and all of that type of thing. So he did incur a 5-second penalty for that. Now remember that 5-second penalty because it will come back into play. From there, Alonso is actually leading the race, doing a great job. He is having to defend against Checo, which is worth mentioning. Checo never dropped, I believe, below a second behind him the entire first couple laps. As soon as DRS is enabled, however, Checo did pass Alonso. I think he expected that. I think Alonso understood, look, if I try to fight this too much, I might destroy my tires. Remember, Fernando Alonso's playing chess in his head, everybody.
Always.
Okay? Fernando Alonso, chess master in his brain. It's great. We love it.
Fernando Alonso knew that he would get there at this race.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that it would be either
he called
Checo,
it before the race even started.
He said Max will be in second by the 25th lap. And guess what? Lap 25, Max pulls right into second, right in front of Fernando. Exactly lap 25.
Do you think he bet on that?
I hope
like,
so.
do you think
What
he had money on that? Like he's just getting a bonus? That's actually illegal. But
super illegal, but that would be great.
The first couple laps, we did see some issues with the McLarens. We saw the initial impact, like we were saying, between Piastri and Gasly, which super unfortunate for both of them because I actually would have loved to have seen a great race from Piastri. It's super, I think, important as a rookie to get that confidence in you going forward.
Because both times it's not actually his...
No, it's not.
It's not him being a bad driver is the problem.
So with that being said, Lando then did incur damage from the damage Piastri incurred. And with that,
they both had
to come in, pit for a new front wing. Piastri's front wing change was unfortunately long. There's no other way about that. Lando's was decent, but not that much better. And then we saw them both down in...
They were like 19th and 20th or something. So I think my main concern is what is going on at McLaren that, besides the fact that they go and they have to pit super early and get a front wing change and whatever, why are they stuck down there?
So this is where I'm fascinated as well. Is it an engine issue? I don't think so.
Because they aren't like
But
entirely lacking pace.
they aren't making up ground
Exactly.
where they should be. They aren't gaining anything on their competitors.
Uh-huh.
They're not even getting close to it necessarily until this race where we did see them towards the end of the race get back into it.
Fighting the Williams.
Yes, fighting with the Williams. But
what world are we living in?
I don't
The
know.
McLaren is fighting with the Williams for last.
I don't know how to feel about it. I don't know how to comprehend any of it. I don't know. I do, however, know that I greatly dislike seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I will say that is new is actually Andreas Seidel
Mm-hmm.
from McLaren, not the team principal anymore. We have a new team principal at McLaren. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. Not pointing fingers at the new team principal. However, I am wondering if there are some growing pains there. So instead of Andreas Seidel, it's Andrea Stella. So
that's the
curious about that. Curious about quite a few things. If I ever got the chance to ask Jack Brown some questions, it'd be great. I just want to know.
Yeah, I really want to know, like, the thing is, I'm concerned about team dynamics in McLaren right now because at their launch, they basically were like, no guarantees the car is going to be good. We're just trying to do our best, guys. Like, that's kind of like the vibe the launch gave. And then this happens. And so everyone's kind of like, what did you do? Did you have no money because you paid Daniel Ricciardo $18 million that should have gone to development? Too bad. That sucks. Now your guys' fan base has diminished and you are in last. So
yeah, wow.
It's like I saw on Twitter someone was like, wow, Daniel Ricciardo has the same amount of points as McLaren as a team and their drivers in the World Driver Championship because he doesn't have a seat and they don't have any points. So,
and that's the tea. So with that obviously issue that we did see incur, that had both of the McLarens down at the back of the field. Okay, so we are going to slightly condense how we usually do race weekend recap. Usually I love to give you guys a play-by-play, but we do have a lot to discuss regarding the Fernando Alonso FIA, whatever. So we're going to save some time for that. And we'll just gloss over some of the highlight points. We did see Stroll out with, I think his brakes were overheating. He pulled to the side, no, stop on track. Not sure if they were overheating, on fire, or what, but the fire extinguisher was brought out and they did spray the brakes almost immediately. And you could almost see the heat coming off of the car. You could even see it on the start. There was
that's what I was
going to
say. There was smoke on coming off of Stroll's brakes on the start. So whether it was his brakes or not, his brakes were being sprayed. I don't know if there was any confirmation of what it was, but because he was asked to stop so immediately, people weren't sure if at first it was a tech, an electronics issue.
You don't know if it's electronics, engine. If there's usually, I feel like unless something has the danger of catching on fire,
they don't say stop immediately.
Stop immediately. Exactly. I feel like stop immediately is reserved for this could get very, very bad and very, very ugly very quickly.
So it was stop on track.
Stop on track.
I was able to pull to the side in a runoff area.
Absolutely.
Basically to the exit.
Pretty much every on-track in-race incident that would have required a safety car this season, both drivers have been able to pull off the track completely out of the way, which is awesome because it's just safety wise. It's just really great to see that that's kind of working out that way. Obviously, don't love the DNFs, but safety wise, really great to see that. Yes, and it also does help the race keep moving along.
Yes, in Bahrain, all 3 retirements, Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, and Ocon, Leclerc pulled off to the side and Piastri and Ocon ended in their garage, I believe. And yeah, here Stroll pulled off to the side and I think Alex made it back to his garage. I think so. With that, we did get a actual safety car, not a virtual safety car. An actual safety car was deployed. Yes, we're not sure why. The safety car is just deployed as the safety precaution to make sure all of the cars are going slow enough and they can get the car off the track in a timely manner should something terribly go wrong and the car does, catch fire or something like that. Everyone's going slow enough that safety vehicles and protocols can be taken and made, everything like that. Now, with Lance Stroll's DNF and stopping on track and the safety car, we did see the lovely chain of pit stops that occurs every time we have that, especially at Jeddah, because as we were hearing from Bernie Collins, who was amazing, by the way, if you have time to go back and listen to some of the commentary from FP1 to the race,
Bernie Collins is the former head of strategy for Aston Martin
Yes.
Racing, and she is so insightful.
Oh, it was amazing to hear.
Absolutely. But on top of that, Bernie Collins gave a lot of really great insight into the strategy. And one of the things she was saying, which we have always seen, is at Jeddah, you have a very, very high potential for a safety car at the circuit because of how difficult it is and because of the catastrophic nature of a mistake at this circuit. So because of that, we did see the lovely string of pit stops come to pass. We did see Alonso come in to serve his 5-second time penalty that he did incur for stopping in the wrong spot on the starting grid. Now,
the stewards like to say that Fernando Alonso served his time penalty incorrectly because they believe that the rear jack touched the car too soon. This has obviously been disputed since Aston Martin Racing went to the FIA with 7 previous instances where this occurred and there was no time penalty given. So he served his time penalty.
This is allegedly where the alleged
problem
occurred.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that was the scene of the incident. Was the pit lane.
Yes.
I feel like the game of Clue was in the pit lane with the rear jack.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so top 3, I don't believe anything had switched yet. So
Nope.
it was, I'm not sure where Max and Leclerc were at this point.
I think Max was behind Leclerc at this point, if I'm not mistaken. And
then Fernando
under
and
the
Perez
safety car,
stayed in
Fernando
their positions.
stayed in their positions. Under the safety car, the field does obviously condense quite a bit. So those time gaps that you're seeing go way down. This is one of the reasons that McLaren was actually able to catch up to Logan Sargent towards the end of the race, because without that, there is no way they would have been. It was like something like a 15-second difference, and they just didn't have the pace. Anyways, from there we go, and Max has been moving his merry way up the field.
As he does.
He did pass George Russell. It was like,
I have a meme about it, but he was like in a whole nother world.
Yeah, just like a different car. It was just kind of like,
it was like F1 versus F2.
Yeah. It was bad. I don't have another way to say that. It was just bad. It made Mercedes look
really
bad. Ouch. Now, from here, we did see Alex Albon out with a technical issue. I think I was still unsure as to exactly what that was. They didn't know enough at the time of the race.
Post-race, he also said, I don't know what happened.
So that is going to obviously require some tinkering from the Williams F1 team. Now, from here, we have, Max Verstappen kind of zoomed past everyone, was in second place by lap 25, like Alonso said.
What we also need to talk about is Ferrari's just games of bullshit that continue to happen season after season, causing reigning depression upon the land. They are keeping mental hospitals open. I don't know. Okay. Like, literally all therapists are employed by Ferrari for the universe. It's painful. Why? Like, okay, tell me, you and me here, right? Tell me how Ferrari's car is so much worse than it was last year. It's not even like Red Bull's is so much better, because it's better, it's good. Ferrari's is worse, and their team doesn't know how to do anything. Like, Mercedes should not have come what 4th and 5th?
Yeah.
And then 5th and 6th for Ferrari?
6th and 7th.
That should not have happened.
No. And it would have been further down had Lance Stroll kept going.
Yes, and Charles had a intense moment on the radio where he was told to speed up during the gap between the safety cars, make up your time really quick kind of thing, getting closer. And I'm not sure.
He was given the information too late in order to do that.
And he said, Javi, which I believe is his race engineer, he was like, Javi, you have to tell me sooner. Like, you can't do that. And it's just, why is the Ferrari team being told what to do by someone driving 200 miles an hour? Why are the drivers running it?
It's just, does no one else know?
It doesn't make any sense.
I don't speak Italian, but the offer still stands.
It's really hard to watch, because I'm like, Mercedes is like, nothing is going right. Once again, guys, sorry. And then like Ferrari's like, we're worse. And it's like, wait, what? What's going on? I don't know what's happening. I'm stressed.
My heart actually genuinely hurts for Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, who obviously doesn't deserve this either, but I just feel like Charles has been through the ringer with Ferrari's
Last
F-ups
year, they had the car and they had the driver to win the drivers' championship, and they didn't have the team.
Nope.
And this year, they don't have the car. Their driver has lost all morale and is like, I'm not going to push anymore. And it's just like, why are we doing this? I'm so sad. Me, Charles, Italy, Monaco. We're all fucking sad, okay?
Everyone's just straight up not having a good time.
I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed. That's the vibe right now. Like, I expected more, okay? You had time to make up things over the break. You got Mr. Alfa Romeo principal. What's his name? Fred Vassar. Things should be working, and they're not. I'll give you a couple more chances, but you and I are going to have a serious problem, Ferrari.
All right, let's actually get into
the podium.
Mm-hmm. So we did have Checo finish in first. Max did take the fastest lap off of Checo in the end. Max did not park in the right spot. He did not park in the number 2 spot. He went and he parked in the pit lane. And Fernando Alonso came in third, allegedly. We say allegedly because we'll get into it. Now, from here, there are a couple things I would like to highlight. Number 1, Checo shaking everyone's hand. Aston Martin's, Red Bulls, everybody's.
Mm-hmm.
Because Checo Perez is the love of the paddock. I truly don't know if there's a single person who doesn't just love Checo in the paddock. Like, does Checo have bad blood with anyone?
Probably Ocon, but...
I mean, maybe Ocon, but I feel like Ocon has bad blood with, like, decent amount of people, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, me included.
Yeah, regardless of that point, Checo Perez, love of the paddock, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Dapping up the Aston Martin boys who are cheering for Alonso, dapping up anyone he can. Really. He's just giving everyone hugs all around, right?
Yes.
Alonso even, yeah, goes to the Red Bull team and gets...
we're going there.
Oh, we are going there. This made me so upset.
Yeah, we should go there.
Gets obviously hugs, cheers, pats on the back. Jos Verstappen is standing at the front of this crowd
and
ignores him completely. No, but
like,
then
he wasn't participating.
Checo is like getting embraced by the team, and Jos is just kind of like,
he's like, anyways,
like that, along with the facial expressions he made in the garage,
the way when Max
qualifying,
when Max had to retire in qualifying.
And he takes his headset off and just walks out.
Ugh. And we will say this at any chance we get. Jos Verstappen is the worst.
We don't like you.
He is a bad person.
Like, I know we make jokes about, Tess makes jokes about Esteban Ocon, but they're jokes. Wow. You know? Well, but those are jokes. We're not joking when we say Jos Verstappen is just... Let's also just provide like a parallel context to this. Checo's dad gave Max the biggest hug
when he won in Mexico.
At Checo's home race. A race that would have been so important to Checo to win. Checo's dad still goes up and gives Max the biggest, happiest smile and hug. And I think this really is just outlining some things here. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave you to stew with what that is. But Jos Verstappen is on my shit list forever and always. Don't like that, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to a rant about that. It was a rant.
It was a rant.
But something that needed to be addressed. Definitely should go back and watch that. Now, let's get into the podium confusion.
Yes.
And you know what? It is confusion because you were confused. We were confused. I was confused. I think everyone was...
We were extra confused because we watched the race like 2 hours behind.
Yeah, that's
3 hours behind.
We were eating breakfast burritos.
And we received the news as we were watching the podium was about to start. We received the Fernando Alonso news. So that was stupid. Do we want to talk about it?
I mean, let's just go into it, okay? We had Fernando Alonso did the entire podium, the entire everything. They celebrated him for being a centurion,
Which is a huge
deal.
He's one of like 6.
Yeah.
Up there with Senna, Schumacher, Prost, Lewis. I don't even know if Max is one.
I don't think Max is yet.
So
essentially what happened, and if you didn't hear about this, are you living under an F1 rock? Potentially, but that's okay. We're going to go over it now. So essentially what happened is allegedly the jack touched allegedly. I'm really liking that word right now. So please just bear with us. The rear jack touched the back of the car prior to those 5 seconds being completed.
Allegedly.
Now,
which also I think we do need to clarify very quickly. The FIA has no timer of any kind.
There is no official timer.
There is no officially regulated timer at any garage that is programmed or anything for penalties. It is all based on timing of the team. Okay? So this is unregulated, but determined by the FIA, which is already, number one, stupid. Okay?
I honestly actually agree with that. I 100% agree with that. I think that we've seen this become an issue twice now.
The fact that it has become a serious issue within 2 races out of the season,
showing that it is a significant enough issue that there needs to be a consistent regulation regarding it. With that being stated, we did, and this is where I like to imagine, I actually saw a meme about this. So our favorite and the fan favorite driver, Sebastian Vettel, is in fact one of the most knowledgeable people in this world about F1 history and F1 in general. He's also known as Inspector Seb. Very familiar with the ins and the outs and the things and the this and this and that. So I like to imagine that Lawrence got on the phone and said, Seb, I don't know that it was actually Lawrence, but hey, Seb. And he goes, I told you I'm not coming back. He's like, no. We actually need something else. He goes, what is it? Do you think you could give us 7 instances where do you think you could give us any instances where the rear jack touched the car before the 5 seconds was over in a penalty stop and a penalty was not given? And Seb goes, are you holding a pen and paper? A little bit of an extra pop culture princess, but that's what goes on in my brain as well. It made me laugh so hard because I had actually thought that to myself. So,
I wonder if they called up Seb,
Exactly.
But yeah, so it was stated after he went through the whole podium, did the whole thing, celebrated, champagne, trophy, all of it. Afterwards, had to give his trophy to George Russell because he was given a 10-second time penalty for serving it incorrectly after 35 laps where they could have made that determination before the end of the race and given him a chance to make up that 10 seconds so that George Russell didn't get the trophy. Okay? I am pissed at the FIA. All right? Plus, George Russell then had to be like, you know what? Aston Martin really deserved the podium that they got. They raced amazingly, all these things. I'm glad to take the trophy, obviously, but they deserved the podium.
Yeah.
George gets to be like, yay, Mercedes got their first trophy, has to give it back. This is all so dumb.
It was, first of all, musical chairs with the third place, and kind of gut-wrenching from both sides. Because, like, Fernando Alonso, his hopes are up. He's like, yes! And then it's, no. And then it's George Russell, yes, but no, but yes.
And then it's like,
and then it's no. And this is where
it's social media heyday.
Oh, yeah. This is, I think, what is so frustrating to me is the fact that the FIA did, in fact, have those 35 laps. And the way it seemed to go about was like someone hadn't actually, they'd forgotten to review the penalty stop. And we're in 2 laps left of the race, and they're like, oh, crap, forgot to do that.
Because think about it this way. In Bahrain, Esteban Ocon served his 5-second penalty incorrectly. Then he sped in the pit lane. He was told about both of those basically within 5 laps max.
Yeah.
There is no reason it took 35 laps. That is a problem on the FIA. And in that case, there should definitely be a statute of limitations on when you can take away a podium when it is genuinely not their fault at that point.
Yeah.
Also, once again, it is the FIA's problem that they don't have a consistent timing system or clock or whatever at each garage, or an FIA representative that times it or anything, because it's up to the team and then they get to be the ruling power on it. And it's just, that's not, you don't get to have checks and balances and deciding people and whatever without there being things to check.
Thank you for coming to our TED Talk.
So I'm pissed.
However, I do feel the trophy ended in the right place with the right person.
Agree.
I completely agree with that. As a George Russell fan, I completely agree with that.
And I think he said it the best. He was very kind, a gentleman as always, and was like, yeah, Fernando Alonso and Aston Martin braced their hearts out. They made a great car. They deserve that podium. Glad to take the trophy. Feels great. But you know, yeah. And I am sad that Mercedes got their hopes up and then taken away a little bit. And also the amount of social media posts that were made in back and forth of each is painful.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine the social media managers?
It's like, yay, he's a centurion. Sorry, our trophy was taken away. George Russell, I got the first trophy for Mercedes this year. Oops. No, I didn't. Oh, we got the trophy back. Like, oh my God. Just, I'm tired.
Yeah. Quite literally, I'm exhausted, so I can only imagine what the teams are feeling.
Emotional roller coaster.
Literally. Now, with that being said, we're going to get into our podium points of our own. Would you like to start?
I will start with...
If you are new to the Grid Sisters podcast, we do something called Podium Points every week, which is where we give out our top 3 moments of the weekend. They have to happen between Thursday and Sunday. Thursday being the day that the drivers usually get in and have press. And Sunday night is when the teams pack up and head elsewhere. Now,
my number 3 podium point is Oscar Piastri making it into Q3.
That was mine too!
And I hate the man, but I only hate him because he took Daniel's spot. But I am a McLaren fan, always, which is painful as it is. But he made it into Q3, and I'm really happy for him. And he's a rookie and all these things, so it's great. Yay. Super happy for him. My second one, ooh, what do I want my second one to be? Because my first is definitely Fernando Alonso becoming a centurion.
That's mine too.
My second one might be Checo getting pole, or I don't know.
Well, mine is Checo getting pole. So
we have the exact same podium points.
So our podium points are identical this week. That does happen sometimes occasionally, but
when amazing things happen, you know.
So both of our first is Fernando Alonso. Second, Checo Perez with his second pole position ever. And third, Oscar Piastri getting P9, actually starting P8 in a race. Even if it didn't go that well for him afterwards, that was a huge start for a rookie. So very big congrats to Oscar.
Yes.
All right. Pop Culture Princess, we ready?
Pop Culture Princess.
Again, if you're new to the Grid Sisters podcast, Pop Culture Princess is where we go through the best memes and most memeable moments of the weekend.
Oh yeah. Number 1, POV, Mercedes door after FIA gives P3 back to Alonso. That's Fernando Alonso, in case anyone was wondering. Speaking of Fernando Alonso, okay, he posted on his TikTok.
Everyone, he has a TikTok?
Apparently. Everyone thought it was literally a fan edit because it's like, there's no way that that's real. Like, there's no way that's real, right? No, he literally just posted a video, like a weird edit video of him being like, I'm gonna look. Yes, it says, just to let you know, I will be racing the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix today and racing for Aston Martin Racing. Yes. I don't know, but I love it.
It's like he learned how to use the iMovie trailer in his new MacBook.
Exactly. So yeah, there's also Lando and Oscar fighting each other because they're too slow to fight anyone else. So sad.
Luigi support only the Ferraris.
Yes. Oh, this is a funny video. George on his way to give the P3 trophy back to Fernando, and it's like George in a very, very frantic walk. Then we have in all seriousness, okay, this isn't necessarily a meme. This is Matt Gallagher, who was previously a part of WTF1. I don't believe he is anymore. In all seriousness, though, what on earth are the FIA doing? Alonso, no penalty. Alonso, post-race penalty. Alonso, penalty removed. Like, no one understands. Even with DRS, the McLaren couldn't pass the Williams. Then, oh, we should talk really quick. There was, like, obviously, as always, weird things being said between the different Red Bull drivers, like, to the different Red Bull drivers, and Max was basically like, well, how fast is Checo going? And then he was like, oh, they're like, he's going this fast. And Max is like, okay, well, I'm going to go this fast then. They tell Checo, this is how fast Max is going. And then they're like, you should go this fast. And he's like, well, why would I go that fast if Max is going this fast? And then he ended up taking the fastest lap from Checo. So he's still leading the championship by 1 point. And they're just so annoying, you know? Anyways.
I just don't. I just don't.
It says, how is a fucking Williams rookie faster than a McLaren? There's math all over Carlos. You're welcome. Then this one, this year's McLaren. Get that thing off the road, brah. Daniel Ricciardo watching McLaren right now, and it's a video of him laughing. Perfect. Oscar Piastri asking for his Alpine seat back, and it's the iconic video of Max trying to open a door and it's locked. It's my favorite meme, probably. Max, what's the fastest lap? We're not concerned about that, Max. Yeah, but I am. Oh, this one's good. It's the, like, rushing video. Hold on.
Minutes to find a solution. Get out of the way, says Pedals.
It's the, like, rushing video when they were trying to see if they could fix Max's car in time. It says, when you're getting a snack from the kitchen, but the formation lap is almost over. My reaction to that information of the original order being reinstated, and it's this. George and Fernando.
What do they have in their mouths?
Well, that one's like, they're like those things.
Oh, like the little party
kazoos,
like the little party kazoos. Yeah, okay.
Also, yeah, so McLaren are officially in 10th after 2 races.
Yikes!
I know. Okay, really quick, couple more. I'll be fast. Oh, the difference in what Lauren was talking about between the dads. How Verstappen feels when Checo and Alonso speak Spanish in the cool-down room. It's just a chair with legs and arms. Just your weekly reminder of $18 million that McLaren could have saved for car development. Thank you. Yeah, Ricciardo on same championship points as Piastri and Norris combined. Oh, you know the race is boring when they keep showing 2 McLarens fighting for P16.
I would actually agree, though.
Mm-hmm.
That race was not the most entertaining.
It wasn't the most eventful Jeddah race.
No.
There were definitely
and it's not
interesting
a crash
things
for it to be an interesting race, but for some reason it just was not as entertaining as I would have anticipated.
Yeah. Aston Martin 2022, Aston Martin 2023.
The Squid Game.
Aston Martin to the FIA, 7 different instances. I have it printed out. If anyone knows the Toto thing.
I think that's from Drive to Survive.
It is. Call an ambulance, call the ambulance. But not for me. Yeah, this, Max, we are not concerned with that. Max gets the fastest lap. The bitchy face. Oh, you're not concerned? Oh.
It's actually Amelia Clark in
from
Game of Thrones.
A Targaryen, if you will.
Yes, Targaryen.
McLaren strategy, pit. Oh, this is one of my favorite ones that we always do, that everyone's got. It's whoever standing over someone with their spilled lunch right now. It's so good. Why is it when some things happens, it is always you 3? So good. If they'd told me I had a 10-second penalty, I'd have opened an 11-second gap to the car behind. Yeah, there's just some really good ones. Everything is sad. Everything is great. Everything is whatever. It's a funny race for memes. Not necessarily a funny race. Oh, Red Bulls have been through here. The tracks are still warm, but just barely. Perhaps a day ahead, Alonso. So yeah, they're memeable, upsetting, but definitely very serious controversy happened
Yeah.
in this race.
I think we're actually going to see probably another, I don't want to say FIA shakeup because it's not necessarily that, but I think we're going to see
There's going to be a
moment of them really having
Mhm.
to get clear and definitive on these rules
Mhm.
because drivers and teams are not going to stand for this kind of behavior.
Yes.
And neither are fans.
No, it is so ridiculous. What happened back and forth is so ridiculous.
Yes. That would be ridiculous in any field, let alone this one.
Mhm.
And on that bombshell, it is time to end this week's podcast. Thank you so much for listening along and watching, if you're watching the format of this. If you want more of us in the meantime, you can find us on
Instagram is our most active platform. We're working on our TikTok. Everything is the Grid Sisters, I believe.
Correct. And we are sorry we were having some YouTube glitches, but the last week's YouTube video is coming as well as this week's.
Mhm.
So we will talk to you guys very, very soon,
See you
right after
soon.
Australia. We
Uh-huh.
can't wait.
Bye.
Bye.